This is a technology marketing strategy for Slack Technologies. Stuart Butterfield is a Canadian-born billionaire businessman who came from an unassuming background. His family lived in a log cabin in a fishing village with no running water or electricity. Despite this background, Butterfield seemed to be destined for importance at an early age. His entrepreneurial spirit sparked when he was just 7 years old. He began to teach himself code on an early generation Apple computer. It was his love for computers that eventually led him to move to Silicon Valley after he graduated from Cambridge in 1996. Butterfield's entrepreneurial spirit never wavered and later led him to found GradFinder, Ludicorp, and Flickr. In 2008, Butterfield invited former colleagues from Ludicorp to develop a new startup company, TinySpec. In 2011, TinySpec launched its first video game, Glitch. Unfortunately, TinySpec quickly unlaunched Glitch, citing the need for improved gameplay. In December 2012, TinySpec shut down the game completely as the business did not appeal to mass audiences. This failure, however, opened up greater opportunities. Butterfield and the TinySpec team had created an internal app used to chat and share ideas with. It was such a hit with the team that they felt there was an opportunity to promote it to other companies. This prompted a 180-degree pivot and change in strategy from TinySpec to a completely new market. And Slack, searchable log of all communication and knowledge, was born. By the end of May 2013, Slack had officially released a preview of its product. Launch day, 8,000 people requested invitations to Slack. A week later, more than 15,000 people requested access. In February 2014, Slack officially launched to the public, and TinySpec changed its name to Slack Technologies. Due to growing demand and early success, Slack was able to raise $42.8 million in April of 2014, along with another $120 million in October 2014. In 2015, the company had already become the first Canadian startup to reach $1 billion validation in only 8 months. Slack rapidly grew the first 2 years. It reached over 230 employees, 1.25 million daily active users, and $35 million in annual revenue. This success even prompted Amazon to take interest in the company, reportedly offering a $9 billion to the buy of the company in 2017. Butterfield credited Slack's success to 3 factors. First, the simple, mobile-friendly design appealed to mass audiences. The Slack team utilized customer feedback to make real-time changes to the site. Second, the fact that the colleagues are increasingly using phones and laptops to share ideas. And third, the attention from the press due to Butterfield's success with Flickr. Slack is a collaboration hub used by businesses, universities, families, and more. The product allows collaborations with individuals online. Slack is made up of channels where groups can communicate and work together. Users create channels for teams, projects, office locations, and more where they can send messages and share files. Channels can be made private or public with the entire organization or group. The product features organized conversations, searchable history, connected apps, and calls. Slack has a searchable history to find historical messages, files, channels, and people. Slack allows app integration and connections to connected services and tools that are already being used. This allows users to continue their workflow without leaving the Slack workspace. Slack can integrate with common workplace apps such as Google Drive, Jira, Trello, Dropbox, and GitHub. In addition to instant messaging conversations, Slack allows voice and video calling, screen sharing, and screen drawing. Slack offers 4 different plans: the free plan, standard plan, Plus plan and Enterprise Grid plan. The free plan is for small teams for an unlimited amount of time. The standard plan is for small and medium-sized businesses. The Plus plan is for larger or those businesses seeking advanced administration tools. And the Enterprise Grid plan is for very large businesses or those in highly regulated industries. Over 7,000 companies use Slack's plan, including Airbnb, Lyft, Robinhood, Pinterest, and more. Slack Technologies has not made a profit on any year-end reports. Despite this, Slack is seeing significant revenue growth and reports some positive numbers that suggest a bright future. In terms of revenue, Slack has seen an increase of over 50% year over year, with 57% and 82% revenue growth in the years 2020 and 2019, respectively. Although Slack's revenue growth has a downward trend, Slack has ensured future revenues by not recognizing revenue up front. Instead, Slack recognizes the revenue in a straight line as the company earns it over the period of the contract. With many of its contracts being 1 year, 3 years, or non-cancelable, it provides guarantees for future revenue from Slack that made from the previous 3 years. Slack's gross profit margin is also higher than most e-commerce and SaaS companies. In the first quarter of the fiscal year of 2021, Slack reported an 87.3% gross profit margin. When compared to Zoom and Microsoft, those companies only had a 68.4% and 64.9% gross profit margin. The average gross profit margin in the technology sector averages between 52% and 56% profit margin. Despite the significant revenue and positive profit margin, Slack's net losses have also increased year over year and even hit $568.4 million in 2020. Slack's net losses grew at a faster rate in 2020 than its revenue, with an over 400% increase from net losses in 2019. The rapidly evolving market and the fact that the product has not yet reached widespread adoption may cause problems for Slack, making it difficult to predict future results or the limits of the market opportunity. Furthermore, Slack expects operating expenses to significantly increase over the next several years as the company continues to hire personnel, particularly in sales and marketing, expand partnerships, operations, and infrastructure in order to keep up with the expanding business. In addition, Slack's current and potential future competitors have the upper hand. Slack is competing with companies such as Microsoft, Facebook, and Google, who already have the brand name recognition, larger budgets, established relationship with vendors, and more resources to pull from. For example, companies like Microsoft may be able to offer competing apps like Microsoft Teams at no extra cost to users of Office 365 because its profit margins in other areas are able to make up for the difference. Additionally, Slack is relying on 100% of its revenue from one product, where many of its competitors have multiple products generating revenue. Slack will require a carefully crafted strategy to compete against these giants. This also provides challenges for Slack since a majority of organizations already partner with Microsoft and are receiving Microsoft Teams as a part of their paid package. Slack must offer a unique product and unique features in order to convert free users to paid users and retain current customers. The category of business technologies is competitive, new, and rapidly changing, and if Slack does not compete effectively with established companies as well as new market entrances, the result of operations, and financial conditions could be harmed. If Slack's revenue does not increase to offset the expected increases in operating expenses, the company will not be profitable in future periods, thus resulting in an upset shareholders, employee layoffs, and ultimately the failure of Slack Technologies. Many of the items in Slack's SWOT analysis have already been discussed. However, here is a high-level view of Slack's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now that Slack is publicly traded, the company is under pressure to start generating cash because it must deliver results to Wall Street. Slack had never made a profit. In order to overcome these hurdles and prove Slack can become profitable, the company must increase revenue by doing the following. First, increase the sales and marketing department and resources. Second, attract new, large enterprise customers. These enterprises will pay for the largest packages. Number 3, convert free customers to paid customers. Number 4, retain paying customers. And number 5, develop new features. All of these strategies require significant investment. Slack, it seems, is in a bind. The company is in desperate need to generate cash and earn a profit, but the only resources needed to do so is money. To secure money, Slack can either issue more common stock, which could dilute value depending on investors' demand and market value, or secure more money from investors. However, to do that, the company needs to prove it can earn a profit. Stated in Slack's most recent SEC filing, Slack expects to incur net losses for the foreseeable future. Additionally, each of these strategies provide new challenges to overcome. Increasing the sales and marketing teams not only requires money, but also requires new talent and change in marketing strategy. Slack must also figure out how to convert free customers into paying customers. Slack has spent a significant amount of money on sales and marketing. In 2018, the company spent 63.5% of its revenue on sales and marketing. Currently, 40% of Slack's revenue comes from 1% of its customers. Only 15% of its customers pay for the service. Of those paying customers, 575 clients pay more than $100,000 each for Slack subscriptions. This means less than 0.1% of Slack's total customer base account for 40% of the company's revenue. This provides a challenge for Slack on how the company convert customers on a free service to a paid service.